What is up, YouTube? Welcome back or welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, I am here with my good friend Arjuna, and we are back for another episode of magical discussions and just whatever we really talk about. So, happy eclipse season, guys. The eclipse is upon us tomorrow, so that's exciting. I'll probably have this published by tomorrow. And then Arjuna, do you want to just introduce yourself really quick for anyone who may not know you?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Pixie. My name's ArjunA, or at least that's my stage name. Of course, you don't know my real name, but
Yeah.
it's awesome to be here as usual. I think this is the third time, but we've collaborated so many other times. But this is the third of this particular series, and yeah, it's a very interesting time period we're going through as far as the eclipse is concerned. A lot of energetic, interesting things going on, but happy to go along with whatever topics we're going to talk about today. So, what do you want to? Where should we start?
Yeah, I figured we could start a little bit with the eclipse, and because we were just kind of commenting on the energies lately, and last week or earlier this week, I had done. I don't do very many oracle card readings on my channel, but I did an oracle card reading, and I found it interesting that like all three cards that I pulled, it was just three, but they all had to do with they were I was channeling like the collective energy, and they all had to do with like transitions or transformations or forebodings, or foreshadowing, excuse me, and just like either new beginnings or like transitions from the shadow into the light, which I thought was interesting. Um, and so, if anyone is curious about that, that's also on my channel, the latest video. And I know that like there's I don't know, I guess like eclipse, have this history of being a bad omen. And I've just heard I see all these conspiracies online. I'm really not trying to get into any of them because it's just going to be like a regular Monday. Maybe. We'll see. But like there's all this stuff with CERN and personally like energy lately has been it's been heavy. I don't know. I don't know if that how much of that is collective or how much of that is just my individual energy or like what I'm picking up on. Um but there are a lot. I find that in this time there are a lot of transformations taking place. Um and I don't know. It's we'll speak mostly, I guess, on the energy and whatever, because it's also a lot of craziness that's going on with the eclipse. People having eclipse parties and stuff, and all the traveling. Yeah, like I've heard of that, and all the traveling just to go look at the sun for. I mean, okay, it's a cool celestial
It's
event. Like
cool.
I get it, but I mean, I don't know. As into the planets and shit that I am, I'm surprised I'm not more like, I gotta see the eclipse. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, yeah. So, but you were saying some cool things earlier, some good things earlier, just about what your observations were with people right now and the energy. So you want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. So I'm just gonna pull something up on my side on
Yeah.
this side while it's loading. So what I was telling you earlier before we started recording is very interestingly, I've noticed a lot of things in humanity that these are things that aren't often talked about and often hidden under the rug. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of them, but what I have observed is various things have been coming to the surface, like they've been exposed, certain things in the media that's been happening for 20, 30, 50, 100 years, starting to get exposed. Certain movements have been getting debunked as legitimate because of various things. So the way I observe that and internalize that is when you think of the sun and the moon and the eclipse together, the moon is basically covering the sun, and the sun is what provides the light. So when you think of the eclipse, when I think of the eclipse, the shadow is moving and the light is exposing something again. So
Mm.
something that was done in the light, then done in the shadows for X amount of time, now it's in the light again, and it kind of matches with 2024 and just especially the last month and a half, I want to say, even
Mhm.
though like from a planetary perspective, you're astrologically inclined, and so am I.
Mm.
But this astrological event happens just for 4 minutes. But it feels like this energy has been building up for a long time. It's
Yeah.
not just today or tomorrow, right?
Yeah, it really has. And this is a little bit less related to, well, not it relates, never mind. Like New York had an earthquake yesterday or the day before, and my aunt actually showed me this because she knows that I'm into like numbers and numerology and stuff and symbolism. And the magnitude of the earthquake was 4.8, and the
Oh yeah.
eclipse is happening on 4/8, and I think there was also like a lesser earthquake in California, and I know there was one in Taiwan. I don't know the magnitudes of those, but I think I could be wrong. I think I saw that the one in California was also 4.8. But I'm like, and people, there are some people that are going so far as to say, like, how did the government, recreate this earthquake to make it a 4.8 and 4.8, but
Hmm.
maybe that's actually like the universe, maybe that's
Yeah.
actually the world. I don't think the government, I mean, maybe they're involved a little, but I don't think with that. So, but yeah, I really do feel like the energy has been building. And I mean, people I just see all sorts of things, and a lot of it seems to be like fear oriented, like how to survive the eclipse and stuff. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I get it. I get the point. Um, but there's not, I guess the message is like, there doesn't need to be this fear. And
Yeah.
but it's fear maybe of the unknown, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit off of what you were talking about, but I do feel that the energy has been building strongly the last like month and a half, um, and I don't even know how to explain it other than it's just like a slow crescendo, and maybe
Hmm.
tomorrow is the finale,
Hmm.
the climax, if you will. But we'll see. I mean, we'll see how. I mean, I'm sure there will be residual energy after the fact too. Like sort of winding down. And I know it's Mercury retrograde right now,
Oh wow.
and yeah, and I know Mars and Saturn are doing something. But the two malefic
Surprise.
planets are doing something up there. And so
Huh.
there's just all this crazy energy going on. And Mars is the planet of war, the god of war,
Hmm.
and Saturn is the one of discipline and hard, tough
Hmm.
lessons. Um, well, if you look at the war going on, like there is war happening.
Hmm. Hmm.
And as far as, Saturn, like personally, I just got out of my Saturn return. Um, and
Finally.
what?
Kidding. I said finally. That
Yeah.
Saturn return is hard.
It was hard. It is hard. Yeah, it's not to be. I mean, I survived. I'm here. Like nothing's
Yeah.
magic happened, but geez,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the school of hard knocks for sure. Um,
Yeah. Congratulations in order by the way for that.
oh, thank
I
you.
don't know if anybody knows, but that's a serious thing. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know, just kind of saying that, and I know people love to hear stuff about the eclipse, so maybe like more opinions on it and more thoughts on it would just, I don't know, get other people thinking. But I do like what you say about sort of things that were in the shadows being illuminated,
Hmm.
and that can be taken across many degrees. Like it can be people awakening, or it can be like actual secrets being revealed, or it can be, like a number of things. So, um, I don't know. I mean, what would you say has been like, I guess, do you have any specific examples of observations that you can think of within the last month and a half or so, energy wise?
So yes, this is personal to us. So this is
Yeah.
I guess a revelation that I had, but also at work, a revelation that we're having collectively
Hmm.
together as like the management team and things like that. And I prefer not to get into too many technical details because it
Hmm.
is like
Yeah, sure.
associated with my real identity.
Yeah.
But there's this demographic, right, of employees that typically have been very successful in the past with our organization, but and I've defended this demographic for a long time. It's not race, it's not like anything like orientation, nothing like that. It's based on a type of intelligence type of thing. And anyway, so I've defended that group for such a long time, and I still defend them to a large degree. It's just I was illuminated to a certain aspect of their lifestyle
Mm,
that is not conducive to the level of work ethic that I thought they were capable of. And
mm,
so, like, this just happened within the last, I swear, 3 weeks. So many changes happened in those 3 weeks. And now within overnight, we've moved on from that one demographic to a completely different demographic that meets the needs of the type of skill level that we need to give to
mm,
our customers, basically.
mm,
So that's one specific instance that is kind of related to us.
mm.
Um, can I go to something you mentioned earlier so I can tie some things together? Okay,
Sure, yeah, of
because
course.
you mentioned something about fear, right?
Yeah.
And there is a lot of fear right now. And I ask one question
Mm,
to myself to understand certain things because I like to follow the money.
yeah.
Is there a financial incentive to somebody who is creating this type of fear? Like you
Mm,
see the
mm,
people, all the grocery store shelves are cleared out,
mhm,
right? The grocery store has something to gain from this fear. Uh,
mm.
gas stations have something to gain from this fear. Hotels, Airbnbs, they can raise their prices because there's a demand. So when you make this
Mhm.
fear heightened and heightened, you can kind of it's capitalizing on it, basically, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, totally.
So that's about the fear around the eclipse. But I want to share if something of the magnitude of the conspiracy theories going around, if something like that does happen, there's nothing we could do about it anyway. So
Right.
why break a sweat and like worry about it? I mean, if something happens, let's worry about it. If not, then you're old enough to remember because we're about the same age.
Yeah.
Uh, you were around during Y2K, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing happened. And
No,
then
right. Yeah.
December 12th, 2012,
Yeah, I was
nothing happened.
terrified of that date. When I remember being in sixth grade and hearing about that for the first time, and I was like, "Oh my God, like I'm not even going to be able to graduate high school." And then it
See,
came around and nothing happened. So,
nothing happened.
yeah.
So
Uh,
there's a chance nothing's going to happen, and all this is fear and stuff. But I want to give credibility to the spiritual stuff because you mentioned there was a 4.8 and a 4.8, whether that's created by man or whether that's created by the universe. One is the echo of the other.
mm,
So something is responding. So if the humans did it, if we did it, then we are echoing something in the universe to match a certain number of energies that's already out there.
yeah.
Or if the universe did it, then the universe is echoing something that's already there and it's manifesting on the physical plane.
Yeah.
So there's something to both sides.
There is. There is. Wow. Yeah, that is really interesting. And I mean, I guess there's not maybe eventually there will be a way to know. I mean, there's no such thing as coincidence, so at least, yeah. So we can write that off. I mean,
Mhm.
and I think this is just such a pivotal time. I mean, it's an election year, there's so much happening in the world, so much going on. And then, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of people are seem to be waking up to different extents, which is good, which is good. But they're also, I don't need to, I don't want to say this and get into that topic, but maybe we will. But I feel like there's also a lot of like trending spirituality lately,
Mhm.
where I feel like it's almost not authentic. Um,
Mm.
and I've talked about this in a couple other videos, but like I don't know, like are people actually like doing the work, or are they just like I saw this meme that was like, is conscious thinking actually trending, or are people just I don't know, just like or I don't know, something like that. But
Mhm.
and it's so much more accessible now, across social media and everything. And I don't need to get into this whole topic and stuff, but it's almost like a fine line to be able to tell like who is really awakening and who's like who can talk the talk, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know the answer. I mean, I don't think that that answer will come, but it's just an interesting observation. And being in the spiritual community myself, like I'm almost getting like I feel like at times I feel like I'm not part of the collective, but I have less of a desire to be on like a spiritual journey with others and more of a desire to figure
Mm-hmm.
like do it all on my own, and not all of it on my own, like of course like learn from others and stuff, but I don't know, it's just I'm more picky with the information that I'm getting and the information that I'm receiving, and of course like picky with the information that I share like on here and stuff. So this is kind of a different little tangent, but like the eclipse is related because the eclipse is trending right now because
Mm-hmm.
it's happening. And so even people that maybe never think about like spiritual things or deeper meanings behind things are thinking about what this eclipse could mean, and then there's all this like propaganda or whatever about like, like this grocery store, like stock up on groceries and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, more people traveling and all these like, and there is some truth to it, but it's like what's it's almost, it goes back to the energy of it, like what, and almost kind of like what you said, like is our fear generating events, or are the events generating our fear, and I can't think of like a specific example. I mean, I'm thinking of the earthquake, but like I don't like human fear didn't like instigate that I know of. But it's like now people are it gained a fear reaction, of course, because like no like sorry, New York doesn't usually ever get like earthquakes, um,
Mm-hmm.
and so it just gets people thinking, I think, but coming from a point of fear, maybe. Does this make sense of what I'm saying? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know what my point what my point
No,
is with it, but
what I was gathering from that to a degree was that okay, you mentioned something that you're not sure if this was done by humans causing the earthquake or something like that.
mhm,
And it reminded me of something where, because we talk about in magic with our discussions all the time,
mhm,
offline and on these episodes as well,
mhm.
how we can manifest things into our reality.
Yeah,
That is thought bringing something to the physical realm. Now, who knows if there's a collective amount of people, because nobody was intending on manifesting the earthquake. I
right,
don't think anybody was thinking together at the same time, let's have an earthquake, and then all of a
right.
sudden we have an earthquake. But the and I always bring it back to certain topics, and I don't know if this is annoying to hear me of this, but about the extraterrestrial thing concept.
Mhm,
There's so much of that's being hidden from us. So if that's being hidden from us, what else is being hidden from us? So what we think we might know, we might not know the whole truth. So maybe if the fear that, and I'm not saying this is for sure, I'm just
mhm,
lending credibility to a potential thread to if enough people are in a certain type of fear over a particular event
mhm,
in two different places,
mhm.
then maybe that will trigger an event that's already connected to the earth somehow. I'm just
Yeah,
saying that's not even like very possible. I'm just saying it's slightly possible that
yeah.
that could be a threat. We just don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It could be. And I mean, and I have heard that places that are considered like holy or conscious, like Sedona, Arizona, or even probably Jerusalem or something, that a lot of these places are made that way because of the humans who brought the energy to them. Not that they're already, except maybe the chakras of the planet, maybe they already have like a certain energy about them, but like other places that people go and feel this sort of like spiritual energy or this collective energy, it's because over the years that's been sort of a mutual observation and a mutual feeling and a mutually created reality, not necessarily like that place giving off that um vibration, or that energy, but it's I mean maybe it has, but it's also been created by those that are receiving the frequency, I guess, by
Hmm.
the observation and a mutual agreement of like, oh yeah, this feels a certain way. So therefore it like creates a um I don't know, an energy dynamic around physical places or around things on the earth. So, and I'm thinking, or I'm speaking right now in terms of like enlightened places, not bad places, but it could go both ways. I mean, it goes both ways. So, I mean, I'm just kind of like spitballing ideas here right now. But it just it does. I mean, we're everything's connected, right? Everything is connected, and so it goes back to what you were saying with like the eclipse being symbolic of a period of awakening. I mean, I think that everything mirrors everything on every level. And
That's what "as above, so below" really means.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So, I mean, it's curious that these things are happening. It gets you thinking. And,
Hmm.
I don't know why there was an earthquake in New York. I mean, other than tectonic plates doing what they do to cause an earthquake. In New York City is kind of rare. But I mean, like, it's not unheard of now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, but anyways, I feel like I'm kind of getting off on a lot of eclipse energy and stuff here. Did you have any other stuff you wanted to say about it?
Well, I think everything that we just talked about, at
Yeah,
the end of the day, when you said it all connects, because your tarot readings even connects to this too.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
your tarot readings is like, this is what I gathered. I could be wrong. I was taking notes hastily.
mhm,
Foreshadowing new beginnings and transformations.
yeah,
And that was basically the tarot reading that you got. And that's what we just talked about with the eclipse. Kind
yeah,
of foreshadowing. Maybe we had X amount of time of foreshadowing, and then the transformation, and then we have a new beginning after the eclipse, perhaps.
mhm, yeah,
So maybe that's how we could tie this all together.
yeah, yeah. That's true. I mean, and I don't know. Personally, I've been feeling sort of a weird energy, like I mean, I moved obviously, and I'm just like going about this sort of new life that is just different than anything I was doing last year, in a lot of ways. And it's almost like it's harder for me to like I can feel sort of the transformation taking place within me, um,
Hmm.
but it's like past the point of it just getting started. It's like that momentum has been built, and it's like I'm almost like looking back at myself like, whoa, like how did I get here? Like I even cleaned out my like personal Instagram the other day and deleted or archived so many pictures. And
Hmm.
as I was going through them, I was just like, not who is this girl, but it was just like, wow, like just different, a different form, a different version of me. It's a different
Yeah.
self. I'm just not that person anymore. And it's been like a slow and subtle transformation, um, at least in my perspective. And I don't know. And but I feel that transformation taking place like within me, and I see it more or less in some ways around here. I mean, I can't think of like a
Hmm.
specific example, um, but more and more people, it seems like, are wanting to expand like their consciousness and wanting to, um, are realizing that like the world is suspicious and like what's
Hmm.
actually going on here. I mean, shit's crazy. Like we live in a weird place.
Yeah.
Like,
When you say, because you mentioned earlier the trending spirituality, I think that's, yes, it's trending, but I don't think it's trending for the sake of I just want to be cool, I just want to fit in. I think there's a seed that is somewhere in in the people's minds that they want something more and they're seeking something. but the available information to actually pursue that is not like the available information is like far out from what is actually needed. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think anybody wants to go to the Himalaya mountains and meditate their whole life, right?
Yeah.
But that's what yogis in India have been doing for generations.
Right.
But then there's another uh, brand of spirituality, which I believe is what you're referring to. That's what it comes to my mind, which is the new age yoga mom that goes and buys crystals, but doesn't understand the concept of what it really is, but just thinks it's cool, thinks that's what everybody's doing. So that's what trending spirituality means to me. But then the seed is there. They want to
Yeah.
awaken, but
Yes.
how do they do that? And I think we're talking about occult. That
Yeah.
is the definition of the definition of occult is hidden knowledge, or that which is hidden from everyday life. So
Hmm.
you really have to dive really deep. So I don't think what we talk about will ever be trending in any
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
because it's so
I
deep.
hope not. I hope not.
But I have something to share on the occult, unless you have something to share.
No. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I want to share with the audience or whoever tunes in.
Hmm.
It, a very good anime is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yes.
You like it too? Yeah.
Okay, so I like the idea behind it. I for some
Yeah.
reason I just can't get into like anime that much,
Yeah.
but that one seemed like one that I wanted to watch, and I watched like a couple episodes, but I
Hmm.
because the what it's about attracted me, but I didn't stick with it. So
Yeah, it's hard for people who are not really into anime as a whole, but
yeah.
if anybody's curious and hasn't really given it a shot, this would be one that I recommend because of the topic is what we're talking about. So, Alchemist in the title, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, the alchemist is basically transmutation, turning one form of something into another form, the equivalent. And we talk about this all the time in magical discussions, all the time, I'm telling you,
Mhm.
where you're manifesting something from the spiritual plane onto the physical plane. That's a form of transmutation. So in this anime, they do various types of, they don't call it magic, they don't call it occult, but
Mhm.
it's very, very obvious. And I'm not going to get into some spoiler stuff because I really hope people will get into it.
Mhm.
But there are some references to actual occult, deep hidden knowledge. Like you'll see a tree of life in there. It's not called the tree of life, but it's definitely the tree of life, and it's the Kabbalistic magic type of thing. Like it's in there.
Mhm.
Uh, Not even hidden. It's very apparent that that's what
Oh, in
happens.
plain sight. Yeah.
And then they talk about the concept of God,
Mhm.
but God is just one of the various names referred to because it's also known as truth or
Mhm.
infinity or wisdom,
Mhm.
but many call it God,
Yeah.
just for the lack of better way to explain it. So anyway, I thought that was a neat thing to talk about for people who want a more grounded understanding of
Mhm.
what magic is. I mean, obviously it's fiction. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, it's fiction. But if you can use that as a baseline to understand how magic works, it's
Yeah.
really that's what it's talking about. It's
Mhm.
so crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I'll give it another shot. Maybe I'll try it again because I just lost
Mhm.
patience. But that's just kind of me and anime in general. So,
Yeah.
um, okay. So since we've talked about the eclipse and all the energy and stuff, I feel like neither of us would be sitting here. Well, I mean, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation if neither of us had ever gotten into the occult ourselves. So aside from just speaking on the eclipse in this video, I wanted to talk about, I guess, like the influence that the occult and that magic has just had in our lives. And I've talked about this in another video before, but I've never had a guest or never had you talk about it or anybody else talk about it. And I think it's an important thing to be shared. And you can speak, on positive things. If there's any negative things, you can speak that too. So I'll kind of pass it to you there and see how you want to start that.
Okay. So,
Hmm.
how has magic influenced my life? How has the occult influenced my life?
Hmm.
So, like 2 weeks ago, I believe, I learned of this new word called polymath.
Hmm.
And it's because I met somebody on Twitter. We had a business contract together through Twitter. Like I was able to got that. It was so cool, by the way. That's off topic.
Mhm.
And we became friends ever since, and we chit chat every once in a while on this shared interest of ours.
Mhm.
And she said that she was a polymath when I said that she's a really good marketing person. And she also has a whole bunch of other things too. Anyway, I learned what a polymath was, and what it is someone who can have skill in so many different things and
Mhm.
find a way to bridge them together. So that's what, to me, when you ask what how magic has influenced that, well, to me, I'm a polymath, and I've
Yeah.
never taken a test to confirm it, but
Yeah.
because I've done a little bit of digging on astrology. Uh, the fun fact, the thing that got me into astrology, like I didn't believe in it, even though it's practiced in Hinduism for generations.
Really?
Well, I have a family friend. I guess I call him my uncle. And this was like, I was in high school or something, but he told me a specific date that something major was going to happen in a crazy far out time, like 4 years. But he gave me the specific day that that crazy thing was going to happen.
Mhm.
And I just remember the date was always stuck in my head, but I never really thought anything was going to happen.
Mhm.
But something happened on that crazy day. I don't even remember what it was. But from that moment on, and I must have been like 18, 19, 20,
Yeah.
uh, that's what started me getting into the astrology anyway.
Mhm.
And of course, we're talking about how the influence, how magic has influenced me. Well, the that's where it started, and where it's taken me to
Mhm.
is like this whole rabbit hole of research.
Mhm.
If astrology was right, what else could have been right? What else that used to be called crazy nutcracker conspiracy theorist stuff? What else could be possibly true?
Yeah.
So that gave me the insight to question that not everything that I know is what I really know. There's so much deeper below the surface that I don't know, and
Mhm.
being open to understanding, even if it's totally wrong, like being a trending spiritualist, for instance.
Mhm.
Even if that's wrong, try to see how it does match with whatever does exist.
Mhm.
So maybe that tells me. Well, I guess the question is, how has magic influenced my life?
Mhm.
It's always there because the framework of understanding how energies work. You talked about it before. Everything's connected. Nothing's a coincidence.
Mhm.
Those are like fundamental frameworks in how I perceive my reality. And I
Mhm.
think that's based in magic. It's based in occult. It's
Mhm.
not often considered as such because it's just like, I mean, you could even talk about it in a religious sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to me, that's magic. I think that's where I would that's how I would explain it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a good explanation. And it's like once you start or once you enter like the magical life, like you can't go back. Like
Mhm.
everything becomes magical to some degree. And that's interesting that that the date, kind of got your attention, and that's what sparked the interest. I think for me, 22 has always been a like reoccurring number in my life. Like ever since I was in preschool, like it was my like carpool number at school for
Hmm.
all of elementary school. And then, a lot of like significant dates happened on the 22nd. And my mom told me that, like, her and my dad, I don't know, met at apartment 22, or they were just, she was the one that brought it to my attention as a kid that this was like a reoccurring number. And I even have 22 tattooed on my side in Roman numerals now because it's been so significant. Um and and so I think that realizing that symbolism and coming to identify, and then I found out when I connected with my spirit animal, this was after I'd already gotten into spirituality, that the dragonfly, which is our spirit animal, is
Yeah.
associated with the number two.
Mhm.
So not maybe 22, but just two in general. And so I think that sort of interest, or that realization of alignment of that number in different places. Like my grandma's last apartment was 122. The first person that ever said that they loved me was, like romantically, was on August 22nd of one year. My grandpa passed away on August 22nd of one year. I started college on August 22nd.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so 822 is also a big date. And then, yeah, I mean, just all sorts of things. And so I think that was what for me opened the door to like numerology and symbolism. I think I've always really been interested in symbols. And astrology, I don't remember how I got into astrology. I was already interested in like sun signs. Oh, and then I remember one time a coworker of mine, when I worked at just a little hamburger restaurant in Texas, my first job, she was like, "Well, do you know your moon sign?" And that was the
Oh,
end of it. That was the end of it. She showed me like cafe astrology, how to find my birth chart. And I that was the beginning of a deep, long rabbit hole that I still am in. So that was like 10 years ago. So
mhm,
um but as far as like magic and the influence of that, I mean, I would agree. Like it has an influence everywhere now. Like I'm looking around my room and I'm seeing all the books on my shelf, and I'm seeing like the little fairy house over there, and like my astrology calendar. And we didn't actually meet because of magic, but that was like kind of a crazy connection that we later found out that we had. And I mean, and some of my like closest friends now that I've made as an adult have been that I've connected to through similar spiritual interests, or magic. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's for me personally, like, not everybody probably that practices the occult or anything like goes so far as to like have a whole YouTube channel about it. I mean, a lot of people
mhm,
do,
mhm,
but some people like are more low key with their practicings, too. But and I'm not like out advertising all the things that I do, like with the occult and whatnot, um, but I'm open to the practice, and I like to connect with people about it. And it really does just like, I don't know, like you said, it helps me to I better understand the world, and the world we live in through what I have learned um in spirituality and magic and the occult. And like you said, like it could be something that is also like traced back, or spoken in religion. um but it's like, I mean, we just live in a magical world, Like I don't even know how else to explain it. Like, um, and the more it's like the deeper I get into, I guess, well, the older I get, and then the deeper I get into like magic and spirituality, the more I even am seeing just how magical and crazy of a world this is.
mhm,
And really, like, I don't think there has been much of a negative influence of magic in my life. I mean, it is important to be wary, like with who you're connecting with at times, just because some people are weird in the occult and stuff. But people are weird everywhere. There's always
mhm, mhm,
somebody crazy. So, um, but I think really it's like it's helped me to define myself, I think, a lot. Like astrology was really a big tool for me to learn more of who I am, you know,
mhm.
and still is. And it's one of those things that's like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. Um, so I'm always learning something new in astrology. But yeah, I mean, it's you grew up Hindu, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you still practice? Like, do you, are you actively Hindu or?
Very interesting, actually, because we talked about earlier how all things connect.
Yeah.
And so I go to temple and I also go to church.
Oh, okay.
But I know that one aspect of Christianity would call me a blasphemer for doing that,
Yeah.
but here's how I break it down. Because religion in its current form, I truly believe, is a mechanism of control. But
Yes.
the only reason I say that is because before we had the secular government, we had religious government,
Hmm.
and religious government, like the whole government was run through the church and things like that.
Hmm.
So if we have instances today where you see definitions of words, and I'm not going to get into it, but just 2 weeks ago, there was a word that was all over the media,
Mm.
and just 4 days later, Google changed the definition of that word to match the narrative that the media was portraying.
Whoa.
So this is the stuff. If it's happening now, it was happening back then. So how do we
Yeah.
know that the religious texts weren't altered to slightly narrate the portion of control, right? They're trying to control the
Yeah.
population, them to behave a certain way. So I believe that the religious texts were manipulated, but I also believe that if you look at the similarities, there's way more similarities than differences between the various religions.
Yes.
Like there's Christ and there's Krishna, and they both have a similar name. The story's almost the same. There's a lot of differences, of course, but the stories of them performing miracles are very similar.
Yeah.
So, to answer your question, am I a practicing Hindu? Technically, but technically not.
Yeah.
I go and observe and acknowledge the holiness that is in every religion, and I will accept it, but I will not let that be my only definition of what I believe spirituality or religion is, because I know of so much deeper stuff
Yeah.
that just doesn't get talked about. And the church acknowledges magic, like it acknowledges that it exists, but it says it's stuff of the devil.
Yeah.
But
Right.
my biggest question is, how do we know that the people who were controlling the people back then did not want people to use this powerful tool, so they associated it with something negative? Like,
Yeah.
we can't rule that out.
Yeah.
So
No, you can't. So for those who are interested in what we're talking about, because as you're speaking, I'm like, man, we could go off on a whole new video with this, but I just need to get my facts a little bit straighter on some
mhm.
things. But for those interested in this, Billy Carson, and you yourself, you might be interested in this too. There's a YouTuber, Forbidden Knowledge, Billy Carson, and I mean, he's beyond a YouTuber now. He like has like his own business and shit, and he's so like powerful. But he talks about like the origins of religious texts and how it comes from like the emerald tablets. And remember how we've talked about the Anunnaki in the
Mhm.
past, like he talks about
Yep.
the Anunnaki, and he exposes all these like contradictions in the Bible, and talks, literally about what you're saying about how people just, this was written by humans, like not by God. These books were written by humans to control. And he talks also that there's like a worship gene that was instilled. And I'd have to like, he talks about so much, but for those interested, check out some of his videos. And you yourself, I think like there's some good ones, I can send you a link or something too where
I just
um
found him.
yes, yeah, that's him. Exactly. Yeah.
This was
Yeah,
crazy.
forbidden knowledge. He's great. Um
Yeah,
I'm in a Billy Carson rabbit hole lately. I've found his
nice.
channel and I've just been like, he seems very knowledgeable and he's very like very credible. I mean, he does his own research, and very generous. He's not like anyways. Um, so maybe that's another, we could get talk more about that later. But and even the word history is
Hmm.
his story. You know,
Yep.
like okay, if we're gonna dissect words here, like that that just tells me what it is. Like there's not a truth, it's a story. I mean, all truths are half truths anyway. So
Hmm.
I could get so into debunking religion and spirituality, but people get so afraid of it because so many people have built their identity
Right.
around a religion or around spirituality. And so if you take that away, or if you tell them what they've believed their whole life and what their generations of family have believed for you know hundreds of years, like who are they then?
Mhm.
Like everything they know breaks apart. I mean,
Yeah.
or so it seems. Um, I mean, shit, it happened to me. Like, like
Yeah.
and I'm still here. Like, I'm still okay. But it's just, it's realizing a bigger truth. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, so that's where I'm currently at in my magical studies is just finding more, like being a truth seeker. I think magic has really made me a truth seeker. Um,
Mhm.
and I don't know, maybe I was already that way. Maybe magic was just something I found in my truth seeking, but I think it's just added to the exploration. So yeah,
Yeah, even though I don't practice it right now as much, uh, I'm still learning and I'm still using it as a frame of way to guide me.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there's so much now, like even manifestation is magic, and there's other things like just because it's not necessarily like a gallery of magic book or an actual ritual, like there's little things like thought forms and subliminals and all that. So
mhm.
so yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be sitting here right now doing this video if neither of us had gotten into
Yeah.
magic. And so I'm really grateful to be doing this with you and that our paths sort of crossed that led us to this point. So that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Um, do you have anything else to say that you want to say on this though before we wrap up?
I mean, I think that topic, I would like to talk about that as its own topic in
Yeah.
another video because we could get into it pretty deeply. I
Yeah.
know
That should be
once
the
we say
next
something,
video.
we got yeah, once
Yeah.
once we say something, we talk about it for 20 minutes.
I know, exactly. That should be the next video though, because you have a background in Hinduism and I have a strong
Mhm.
background in Christianity, and
Yeah.
I think we could both bring a lot to the table with something like that. So, so we'll plan that for going forward for the next episode.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool. Well, thanks
cool.
for having me on again. It was
Of
awesome.
course. Yeah, no, thank you for being on and thank you for signing up and doing this. You and your Kirby shirt. I love the Kirby
Yeah.
shirt. Um,
Funny enough, I got this in the girls section. I saw it in the girls section, but I'm a small stature guy. I'm like, there's no way I can leave here without getting this. I have to get it.
yeah.
I love Kirby.
I love it. Yeah, it's perfect. It's cute. Yeah. So, if anybody has made it this far and watched, thank you again for listening in on our conversation. It's always a pleasure to have you on the channel and to have these talks. And we really don't even prep. Like we really just kind of go and it just sparks fly. So, the
Hmm.
conversation flows. So, and everybody that is interested in the eclipse or watching the eclipse, be safe, all that jazz, just be smart. Don't freak out. Like, we will see Tuesday all together and it will be just fine. So, um, but yeah, God willing. So,
Yeah.
anyways, it's great to have you on the channel. And yeah, until next time, guys,
Peace,
thank you for
everybody.
watching. Oh, like this video and subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for more videos with ArjunA and I in the future. So
Hmm.
looking forward to it.
See you
Okay.
guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye bye.